I'd like to teach you the most important thing I learned while on vacation last year. Let me take you back with me. The date was July 23rd, 2011. This was a day where I actually witnessed the sun engulf the whole sky. I never realized that my own skin could turn as pink as pink as the horizon, but it did. I looked at my brother, and he was about just as scorched as I was. And we were on our way to find our hotel. Now, my brother and I like to plan out before we go on these vacations where we're going to stay. But unfortunately, the hotel that we had picked wasn't on the map that we had of Riga, Latvia. So we decided, basically, the only logical thing we could do was to walk into the center of the city, try to get a better map, and then go from there and find our hotel. But it had been 20 minutes since we had got off that bus, and we were walking, and we were tired. Fortunately, we saw in front of us just a little tiny tunnel for pedestrians. Now, my brother and I really kind of reverted back to little schoolgirls out of joy of seeing this tunnel in front of us and be able to dodge the sun for just a couple minutes. We were even more overjoyed when we saw a couple advertisements of bakeries that were in the tunnel. Not only does it give shade, but it smells good. Now, we walked down those steps with smiles on our faces, but we're severely disappointed when we looked to our left and right and we saw these dusty, musty, terrible smelling beggars, right? And unfortunately, their smell completely overpowered the bakery. So it was more like with grief that we walked through this tunnel, except for the shade. The shade was really nice. So you can imagine probably how unenthused we were when we had to walk up those steps into the scorching sun. Again, we were about as slow as turtles. But once we had got up, we found ourselves in the midst of an extravaganza. It was a parade on some of those central streets in Riga. Each person looked more sweaty and tan than the last. My brother and I were completely zigging and zagging, pushing our way through these crowds, trying to find street names, trying to find the street that we were looking for that our hotel was on, with no luck. We decided that we would have to ask somebody. We prayed that we'd find somebody who would speak English. Of course, there was nobody that speaks English in Riga, Latvia. So I saw a kiosk, and I thought, I'm just going to go try this out. I walked up to the sliding glass door, and I slid it open. And that was one of the biggest surprises of my life. I found in front of me a pair of cafe amber eyes staring right at me. I saw caramel hair that flowed like silk and creamy skin. And I thought, I like Latvia. Now, I walked into this little kiosk and I met the woman that was working there. Her name was Lania. She was very nice. There was a communication barrier, totally. And I, in my best way possible, tried to communicate that I was looking for a hotel on this piece of paper, and I showed her my map, and that the name of the place wasn't on the map. And the nicest girl, she got out her phone. She called the hotel. Now, Latvian isn't the prettiest language in the world. You can imagine all the guttural sounds that they make with the back of their tongue. I can't do them, so I won't even try. I'd probably spit on you guys. But she really spoke the language like an angel. She found the place, she wrote down on the map, and I really didn't want to leave. I'm sure you've all had those experiences where you just want time to slow down a little bit. This was one of those for me. But I didn't want to seem awkward, so I made my way to the back and reluctantly broke eye contact with this girl. My brother and I, we got to the hotel. Everything was fine. We dropped off our bags, but something clicked inside of me. I decided, now those of you that know me realize that I'm not the most romantic person in the world, and nor am I the most spontaneous. But I decided that I would do something a little bit different, a little bit crazy. I was going to get some flowers for Lania. So I told my brother my plan, and we walked out into the sun. It had dimmed a little bit. Now it was the horizon, so I was matching. And fortunately for us, as we were walking to the main street, we found a flower salesman right there. I thought, this is destiny, right? So, of course, I try to get the guy's attention and buy some flowers, and you can only buy like the bunches, the huge bouquets, and I only wanted to get 1 or 2 because I didn't want to seem ostentatious. So I got a couple flowers, a big bouquet, and I ended up having to give some away, which was actually more difficult than you would imagine, trying to give away flowers. They're thinking I'm trying to sell them. I'm just trying to give them away. But I ended up having 3 long white-petaled daisies that I thought were beautiful. And I thought, these are destined for Lonnie. So we were in the center square, and I was looking around for that same kiosk, and I found it. And of course, I got to the sliding glass door, and I opened it up, and there were those brown eyes staring me in the face again. And I thought, this is it. So I walked up to Lania. I handed the flowers. I said, Sviki, which means hello. And I basically exhausted my Latvian at that point. And then when she said Sviki back to me, and I said, thank you. And she said, okay, which is the universal word, I guess. And so I handed her these flowers, and I asked if she was doing anything after work, and she said, husband. Of course, and I'm thinking, that's right, I remember now. Rings when you're married are on the right hand in Europe, not on the left like in America. So I looked at her and I thought, what a beautiful girl. What a lucky man he must be. And so I said thank you once again, and I started to walk out, and I closed the sliding glass door and I took one last look back. My brother and I continued our walk in the central Riga streets, our shadows getting longer. I turned to my brother and I said, I learned something very important today. Today I learned that that's my speech.